You're watching the Fantasy Rankings Report only on Fantasy Now Plus. Hey, it is Topher Kurt here. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Fantasy Rankings Report, where we compare running back and wide receiver rankings from 8 different fantasy football companies. I am here as your wide receiver expert, and joining me now is our running back expert and co-host Michael Flores. How are you doing tonight?
Fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Been through my first full week of school and no one's died yet. I haven't thrown a kid out a window. So I'm going to take all of that as a success.
Yeah, you gotta take the wins when you can get them.
Exactly. Just said, I'm working on it, y'all. Mention that this show is brought to you by I'm reading Justin's note. I need to mention that this show is brought to you by Fantasy Now Plus and the Fins Talk Sports Network. You need to subscribe to both channels. Check out the Fantasy Now Plus website. We've got all sorts of rankings. Justin, the boss man, just put up his My Guys article, and it's good stuff. Make sure you check it out. We're going to start off like we do every week with a ranking question of the day. In this segment, we ask each other questions pertaining to the rankings in any way, shape, or form. We can stick to our areas of expertise, wide receiver and running back, or we can go to a different position. Today, I want to ask about the old geezers of the league. When I say old geezers, I'm talking about 30 years or older. I would be considered an old geezer in the league. Isn't it weird to be like, oh yeah, these kids are like 22 out here doing this, and I'm 33 and I can't get out of bed without my back hurting.
Yeah, seriously.
So all of these players are 30 years or older. How do the experts rank these players from highest ranked to lowest rank? This is in alphabetical order by first name. Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Tyler Lockett.
All right. It's a pretty good list of names. At one point, I think I've had every single one of those players, I think. It's in the past few years. But yeah, there has been some downward trend with some of those guys. I'm hoping maybe we'll pick some up, but we'll see. All right, the first one you said, Adam Thielen?
Yes.
All right, so Adam Thielen, since leaving Minnesota, he really hasn't done anything.
He actually had a decent season last year before he got injured.
Okay, that's good to know. So maybe that puts me up a little bit higher than what I was thinking, because initially I was thinking maybe around 70. Let's go 64, 65.
Okay. What about Kupp?
Kupp. I loved Kupp for a good portion of time. His injury
we all did.
Yeah, his injury really hurt him.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I don't know. I think he still should be up there pretty decent. Let's go 35, 36. Okay. Who else did you have on there? I do remember hearing D-Hop. D-Hop was
a
stud for so long. I would be surprised actually if he did crack the top 72. I'm going to say he's off our charts of 72 and closer to maybe in 75 to 80, probably closer to the 80 mark.
Okay.
All right, who did we have next? There was
Keenan Allen.
Okay, Keenan Allen. All right, I had high hopes for him with the Bears. I thought everything was going to be magic. He looked okay. He was a nice security blanket. Last year started off pretty slow. Let's go 60.
Okay, Stephon Diggs.
Hate Drake May. new team. That's gonna have to hurt him. Let's go 45, 46.
And lastly, Tyler Lockett.
All right. This one is probably going to give me some hate from Seattle fans. Is he anywhere near ranked top 80? I'm going to go, if they even have him ranked, he's going to be closer to, I don't know, 100. I don't know. I'm only saying that because every single time I played him last year, he put up pretty much. So I wouldn't even want to put him on my list.
That's fair. I ask this fun question because all these wide receivers, besides Cooper Kupp, were top 18 wide receivers in 2020.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp was wide receiver 34, and I'm pretty sure there was some injury, or if it was, I think it might have also been like right at the curve of that, like him really hitting stardom. So we're going to go through it. You said Diggs was 45. Okay. Diggs is actually number 38 right now. So not too far off. Cooper Kupp, you had at 35. Kupp is 48. Keenan Allen, you had him at 60. He's 58. I think there's a couple of those rankings that don't have him updated, though, because his range is obnoxious. Let's see. Keenan Allen, where did you go? Yeah, his range is 30, 47 to 77. So I think there's some people that have not updated it since he signed with LA, but that was last week, so maybe not. Adam Thielen, you got 64. He's at 64. Boom, right on the money. That was your first guess too, and I was like, oh. D-Hop, you said between 75 and 80, closer to 80-ish. 76. I'm giving that one to you. And Tyler Lockett, you said you'd be surprised if he cracked the top 80. You're right, because he's number 81.
Oh, so close. Still too high. Still too high.
I mean, there's really nobody else in that receiver room. So he could.
No, mine is personal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I get it. We all have those guys that were like, I will not touch you again. I have one of those guys later on this show. Before we dive into our steady and safe segment that Michael will lead, I want to show you all that are watching on the live stream what we are working with here. So I have this whole video that shows you on the screen right now. It shows you how we rank the players. We take the average of the 8 scores. We take the mode. We look at the range. What's the highest ranking? What's the lowest ranking? What's the range? So how far apart are they from each other? And we use the following 8 sources: CBS, Fantasy Footballers, Fantasy Now Plus, Fantasy Pros, Going for 2, NFL, Rotoballer, and Yahoo. So we've got those 8. And if you go down, we've got them in tiers of 12. So wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, so on and so forth. And as you get lower, you're going to notice that these range numbers are getting bigger, because the more opportunity you have for fluctuation, the bigger your range is going to be. You're not going to have a big range with somebody like Jamar Chase, who is ranked number 1 across all 8 sources. But when you come down here to, let's look, like Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 70. He's got a range of 22. Some people think higher on him, and some people are, They are at 80, so they are one above Tyler Lockett with him. So, let's go on to steady and safe. Lead us in, Michael.
Yeah. So, general idea, steady and safe, is part of the show where we're just going to highlight 3 guys each that the consensus pretty much agrees on. That everyone's pretty sure this is right around the area and that guy's going to land. And with my first steady and safe guy, I'm going with Jonathan Taylor. He's currently right now at RB11. He is in the 10 to 21 range. That is kind of a, 10 to 12 range. That's kind of a a big jump, or not that big of a jump, but he's about a 10 for us. The one thing that really worries me is Daniel Jones is his QB. So is he going to be able to be that security guy that catches quite a bit of those short passes? I still think so. I think Jonathan Taylor is Jonathan Taylor. He had a great comeback season last year. He there we go with I'm with the ums now. I got the ums.
You're welcome.
He looked pretty good last year. He finished RB7, 303 attempts, over 1,400 rushing yards. That's about 4.7 per attempt. He had 11 touchdowns. All of those were the best since 2021, where he had that monster season. So now Daniel Jones is going to be his QB. Last year, he targeted Tyrone Tracy Jr. 53 times. He targeted Singletary 24 times. That's not an insane amount, but he does put some trust in his running backs. I'm going to go with saying he's going to be a nice security blanket again for Daniel Jones. There's going to be that chance where he's just going to have to maybe take over and run quite a bit. I'm not high on Daniel Jones by any means. So Jonathan Taylor is going to take over a good portion of that. I think he's gonna rush quite a bit. The last weeks of last year, he finished with about 40 fantasy points, 26.6 fantasy points, 24.5 fantasy points to end the year. 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown in order that way. He's going to put in work for us. And I think that grabbing him early on, I think running back 11 is pretty low, actually, if I'm going to be honest. I'd like to see him, a few spots higher than that. But he's going to be the safe guy to go. You're going to see at least running back 10 at the worst case scenario, in my opinion.
I'm with you. I think Jonathan Taylor, the experts primarily have him at 10. I'm looking right here. 6 of them at 10, 1 at 11, 1 at 12. And I think that's kind of his floor. I think
agree.
that if he plays and he's healthy, that's his floor. I'm all for that. Before we continue on, Jamie, good to see you here. What does the chart say between Hall and Walker? He's on the board. So it says Breece Hall at 16, Walker at 17. Hall has a high-low, highest of 13, lowest of 19. Kenneth Walker has a highest of 14, lowest of 19. I'm going to say I would much rather take Breece Hall over Kenneth Walker. I'm a big Zach Charbonnet fan this year. I think that Kenneth is he can be really good when he's on the field. He's not on the field as often as he should be. And he does pull out stinkers. And I think that they're going to open things up, make it more of a sharing backfield. And Kenneth Walker is not going to have that. And Bossman Justin said, I would not do Breece Hall. I mean, what I would do instead was I would take Travion Henderson. Probably not there. But per the rankings, Travion Henderson is lower. But let's be real. The hype is up there. And Justin said Breece is a fade. You also said that about Wicked. And I'm staring into my camera at you. So, Justin, you're a fade. My first steady and safe guy is Jalen Waddle. Now, Jalen Waddle is not everybody's favorite cup of tea right now. Because over his career, he's been volatile because the Miami Dolphins are volatile. In 2022, he was wide receiver 7. He had 75 receptions, 1,356 yards, 8 tutties. We cannot expect that from him. However, at wide receiver 38, I love it. Not 38, 28. My apologies. I can't read. At wide receiver 28, I love that. Devon Achane might come into the season injured, might start off injured. One of the fantasy footballers, Mike, said, I don't like to trust injured players at the start of the season ever. If they're injured and they're limping into the season, I don't like to trust that. I love Achan. I hope he gets through it. Tyreek Hill, still sitting out of practices. Not going to be all of that. So, I don't know. Tyreek Hill, he's wide receiver 14 right now. I don't know if he's going to produce that. I've talked about that before. There's nobody behind him. Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook-Akine. And then at tight end, Darren Waller, Julian Hill, Pharaoh Brown. Okay. There's no competition here. It is an aging Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, and a Jalen Waddle, who's only 26 and has proven to be a huge asset when the Dolphins offense is running. That is my thought. I think Jalen Waddle is a good pick. The experts I have my sheet on the running back side right now. Okay. In the wide receiver 3 tier, he's got the second smallest range. His high is 23. His low is 31. He's got a range of 8. I like it. I'm gonna run with that as a safe and steady wide receiver 3. I'd be okay with, if I went running back heavy, I'd be okay with my wide receiver 2.
Oh, I like it.
And Justin agrees with me.
He's trying to get it back into your good graces.
Somebody has to. He also hasn't rewatched Wicked this week, and knowing I'm a teacher, he has a big F. And he's a big music person, and so him saying he doesn't like, yeah, exactly, not a real music person with his thoughts on Wicked.
That's hilarious. So my next steady and safe is for Jamie. I'm going Kenneth Walker. And this is the reason why I'm going to do that. So right now, he's kind of listed as an RB17. His range is 14 to 19. We have him at 16. Now, the problem with last year was he missed 6 games. It's quite a bit if you're going to be a RB1 for your team. But even though he missed 6 games, he was still an RB12 in points per games. So even though he finished the year RB26 points per game, finished RB12. Now his first 7 weeks, he did miss 2 games, and all but 1 game he did finish with more than 15 fantasy points. And week 4 was by far the best of that stretch. He had 31.6 fantasy points that week, 3 freaking touchdowns. Now, it's a run-heavy offense. I also do like Charbonnet, which I'll discuss later. But I do like Kenneth Walker's start. I think to begin the season, he is a steady and safe pick to start it off. Now, if Charbonnet starts popping off, that could change. But to get your season started, to get going, to get some steady results, I'd like to get Kenneth Walker right around that RB17 area.
I think you have a very good argument. I feel burned by Kenneth Walker, so I don't love him, but obviously he's a starting running back in the NFL and has mucho talent, and I think that you could be right. He could be a great pick right there. He could be even better than that. He's shown a ceiling higher than that. My next steady and safe wide receiver is Stephon Diggs. It hurts my soul to say that. It does. But last year, when he was playing, he did not look like the decrepit second half of the season Buffalo Bills in 2023 that he was. He fell down quick in Buffalo. Last year, he had 5 games with at least 69 nice yards or more. And in every game, he had 5 receptions besides 1. And one of those games, he only had 54% snap share because he tore his ACL. He had almost 500 yards in 7.5 games, 3 touchdowns, and 47 receptions. He's now going to a New England team that is thirsty for wide receivers. Anyone that can catch the ball and maintain it. Stephon Diggs is that guy right now. Kyle Williams
Easily.
isn't going to compete right off the bat for that. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe, but he's a 4th-round pick. I think Stephon Diggs was a later pick too, but don't mind that for the sake of this argument. Stephon Diggs has some stability here in the wide receiver 4 range. Experts have him between 34 and 41. He's got a range of 7, and a lot of experts, really, if you take out Fantasy Now Plus, the range is 38 through 41. Very solid upper wide receiver 4, could be a low end wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, they have to throw to someone there, and he's the sure guy on that squad for sure. So my last guy, little interesting pick. He's set at RB28, 25 to 32 range, and that's Tyrone Tracy Jr. So hear me out here a little bit. He became starter about week 5 on. He still had nearly 200 carries and 53 targets. But there is a but, and it is a decent one to point out. He did have 4 fumbles.
Ooh.
He had 2 rushing and 2 receiving, 2 while he was receiving.
Ooh.
So those hurt, and that you don't want to see it. But I do think right around the RB28 range, he can still produce. My only concern is that you get him for about 2-3 weeks at a time, great. But then that next week, it's kind of a drop off. But for straight 2-3 weeks, you can get very decent points out of him. And he did play this week 2 preseason, had 7 carries for 39 yards. So they put him in there a little bit to see what he's got. But I do think he's going to be a little bit more steady here. And I do like picking him up a little later, but pick him up about RB28, RB27 as we have it on our rankings. But I'll take a risk. He can sit on my bench and prove to me that he's got it, which I think he does.
I like that. I don't know if I would take him at running back 28, depending on what my running back situation is. I'm not sure. If he's my running back 3 and I've got 2 very solid running backs that I can really rely on, throw him in the flex every now and then, I could run with that. If I've got Chuba Hubbard as my RB1, I don't want him as my RB2 or RB3. I'm going to go with somebody that has more explosive upside. But I think depending on how you draft, Tyrone Tracy, almost said Cam Scatabo, I think that he does have potential to finish up as a low-end RB2, high-end RB3. My last steady and safe wide receiver changed from the show. I was going to have somebody did some more research and did not like what I was seeing. So I am transitioning to Marvin Mims at wide receiver 57. His range is 10. His highest spot is 56. His lowest ranking is 66. Now, there was just a trade today for Devon Vele from Denver to New Orleans for a 4th and a 7th. And Vele, I think, was he drafted or was he on? He might have even been undrafted. I'm trying to remember.
Great question.
Yeah. So he is now out of the picture. It was a crowded wide receiver room anyway, with Sutton clearly being the one, and then Mims, Franklin, and newly drafted Pat Bryant being the wide receiver, going for that wide receiver 2 kind of spot. Marvin Mims, once he started getting the eye of Bo Nix. Once we hit week 11, he had, let's see, he had, why can't I math? 6 out of 7 games had at least 40 yards, which isn't great, but you're looking at wide receiver 57 right now. He had 2 games of over 100 yards, and he scored 6 touchdowns in that time. Bailey was a 7th round pick. Thank you, Justin. He scored 6 touchdowns in that amount of time. He also did pretty well for your second and third round of fantasy playoffs, not your first round. But he's not anything crazy. Also, hey Chris, thanks for being here. His yards per catch was insane. Absolutely. This guy is crazy. His yards per catch is up there. And I think that with this trade, it opens things up. He's got a small draft range right now for being at 57. The Brandon Ayuk has a range of 38, who's ranked 56, and Keenan Allen, who's ranked 58, has a range of 30. So a lot more experts see Mims in a smaller box. And I see his ranking going up over time. I see his rank now that Vele's gone. And I think after what we saw last year, it's going to make big difference. That's my thought.
Yeah,
okay.
Interesting.
Right? Experts against experts. It's the meatiest part of our show. It's where we highlight 5 players in our positions of expertise that the consensus disagrees on. I can't pronounce words today. We will each talk about one from our tiers. For example, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, so on and so forth. I'm going to start off with A.J. Brown for my wide receiver 1 tier. He's got a range of 6. Experts rank him from 5 to 11. Pretty much no matter what his health is, he's a solid lock for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns at the minimum. Like that is a beautiful minimum to be at.
Absolutely.
Last season versus the 2 prior seasons in Philly. So let's talk about this. He's been in Philly now, played for 3 seasons there. He played essentially 4.5 less games than he did in the prior 2 seasons on average last year. He had 400 yards less on average than the prior 2 years in Philly. He also had his best yards per target in Philly and tied with 2023's TD outcome. There's no new threats to the offense. Jahan Dotson, first round pick for the Commanders a few years ago, failed experiment. They got him for a later pick last year. They just traded for John Mechie. I would love for him to be successful, but there's no really place for a wide receiver 3 to be super successful. There's no way they run as much as they did last year. There's just no way. I think the offense has to go back to passing a little bit. Yes, it won them the Super Bowl, but now teams are going to focus on it a little more because it won them the Super Bowl. And what happens if Saquon Barkley goes down? You're not relying on Will Shipley, the solid number 2 running back, or A.J. Dillon, failed Packers experiment. Right now, here's something to monitor is that he has an ankle injury. He's currently sidelined. It's a monitor, not a worry situation. It's just like when you have scattered thunderstorms, there's a watch for a thunderstorm warning versus a tornado warning. There's a watch warning. Just watch this. When he played all 17 games in Philly, he's been wide receiver 5 and 7 in those prior seasons. That's a guy that his highest he's ever ranked was wide receiver 5. He's going at wide receiver 10 right now. He's healthy. Even with him missing 4.5 games last year, he was 400 yards less than what he'd done. He can easily pick that up if he's playing in games. again, and he tied for his 2023 output when he was wide receiver 5, I believe. He picks that up. He's right back there. I'm running with AJ Brown.
I love it. That's a stud pick. So my first is going to be Chase Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He's right now at an RB9. I think I have him in 2 leagues. His range is 7 to 14, actually. We have him on the lower end of 14. I like him on our higher end, if I'm being honest. Maybe that's just a little biased because I have him. But for the most part, everyone has him as a bottom RB and the RB1 tier. He took over last year about week 7, and he was in nearly 80% of the snaps. He really began to perform, though, week 4 on. In week 7, that was probably, I believe, his worst week where he had 6.3 points. But weeks 9 through 14, he was also just catching. So he had a minimum of 30 receiving yards per week from 9 to 14. He is consistent. He is great. They're going to try to stop Chase. They're going to try to stop Burrow. It's going to leave Chase Brown open some more. They can dump the ball to him. He moves well. He did play week 2 of the preseason. He did get 5 rushes for 16 yards, and he got a touchdown. So they let him go just a little bit, see what's going to happen. But I really like where they have him because I would like to go get him at that lower range so that way I can dominate with him in my league. Personally, I'm just not waiting to RB14 for him. I'm going to try to get him, if you can, closer to 8, 9 if you can.
There you go. I will say I really have not had Chase Brown on any of my teams. And so I was a big believer in Zach Moss. That went really well last year. But he clearly produces well. It got better primarily throughout the season, except he kind of didn't give you the touchdown output you needed in the fantasy playoffs. But that's not his fault necessarily. You can't always time those touchdowns. I think he could be a very interesting play this year. Dang it. I've been so good with the ums today.
You really have been, though.
What?
You really have been.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Wide receiver 2 tier, T. Higgins, talking about the Bengals right now. He's listed as wide receiver 13. He's got a range of 9. Wide receiver 11 to wide receiver 20. He's the highest ranked wide receiver 2 in the NFL. I thought about this and I was like, what's going to make this stand out? What makes T. Higgins as a wide receiver 2 on a team so valuable that some people have him listed as another wide receiver 1? I want to talk about the wide receiver pairs from the same team that have been in the top 12 in PPR scoring in points, half point PPR scoring in points per game since 2018. So this isn't overall fantasy points, but it's points per game because some of these guys, they finished like 13 because they missed 2 games. But the way they produced all season was super important. 2018, I know this feels like we're going way back. There's a purpose and a point to this. 2018, wide receiver 2 was Antonio Brown. Wide receiver 9 was Juju Smith-Schuster. Oh, we thought that duo was going to last. Not. Did not go that way. 2019, Chris Godwin, wide receiver 2, and Mike Evans, wide receiver 3. 2020, wide receiver 3, Stephon Diggs, and wide receiver 7, Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings. 2021, we had 2 pairs of receivers from the same team in the top 12 in points, half point PPR, points per game. Chase Brown, wide receiver 5, T. Higgins, wide receiver 12, and then Mike Evans at wide receiver 7, Chris Godwin at wide receiver 10. In 2022, we had Tyreek Hill at wide receiver 4, Jalen Waddle at wide receiver 12. I want to make a close note that Jamar Chase was wide receiver 6, and T. Higgins was wide receiver 14 in 2022. So that was very close. Wasn't up there, but very close. Last year, in 2023, there were none. No pairs up there. 2024, Chase, wide receiver 1, T. Higgins, wide receiver 4 in points per game. In the past 3 out of 4 years, Chase and Higgins have been there or almost been there as both top 12 wide receivers. You can't always just look at the fantasy finishes, looking at points per game, looking at targets, looking at target share. There's bigger things than just, oh, they finished as wide receiver 15. But what if their points per game was 25? Or the other way around. T. Higgins finished as wide receiver 10 last year, but his points per game was wide receiver 4. I love that. I have been kind of hesitant on T. Higgins. Then I looked at this stuff. Think about all the amazing wide receiver pairings we have seen throughout the past 7 years. We've seen some incredible pairings. They are on pace to they almost have already outdone Godwin and Evans as a pair for top 12 finishes. They were very close in 2022. Higgins scores 0.5 more points a game. They are both up in that top 12 and making it 3 out of 4 seasons. They are defying Diggs and Thielen, Godwin and Evans. They're defying these things. And they just got both of them signed to a second contract. Unheard of. I'm running with T. Higgins, even as my wide receiver 1. He's not always going to be healthy, but when he is playing, he has proven that he is going to be a wide receiver 1 or very close to a wide receiver 1 anytime he steps foot on that field.
That is awesome.
Also,
that is good to know.
Yeah. Also, if Hendrickson gets traded, it's going to be an all-out track meet. Yes. You don't think Chase will repeat as a wide receiver 1? Ooh, that's interesting. Wide receiver 1 overall. Okay. Okay. That's much more clear. I was like, what? I will bet money on that, Chris. Glad you clarified.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize I knew T. Higgins was doing well. I didn't realize that well. So that's amazing. So my next guy, I'm going with Travion Henderson. It's running back 20, but he's got a range of 14 to 26. We're sitting in the middle of that at 20. Now, again, like you've said this so many times, rookies are just underrated. So he was drafted in the second round. I'm betting you it's going to start off as a running back by committee with Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think it's like Stevenson's job to just run away with. Especially, we was talking about fumbles earlier. Stevenson had 7 last year. 7.
I had him and I traded him away, and I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah. You can keep running all you want, but if you're going to drop that ball, what good is it going to be? It's Henderson's job to take. And honestly, how much progress may Drake make progress if Drake May can progress? So what are they going to do there? Henderson's, I think, is going to be a go-to. He can be kind of a security blanket. If he can't reach his wide receiver 1, he's got that chance to just dump it off to your running back, dump it off to your running back, dump it off to your running back. I have a feeling if Diggs is out there getting double teamed, you're right with who else are they throwing to? It's probably going to be a running back just to get rid of the ball. And I think Henderson takes that job from Stevenson. I think he literally runs with it, and I think he's going to be catching a lot of passes this year.
So, Chris LePage just commented, Henderson has never fumbled in his career. And if I'm correct, that goes all the way back to when he started playing flag football in 3rd grade. And they just
Absolutely.
kept his stats from there. Just a beast from that age. He never even fumbled the ball coming out of the womb. Just like, nothing. Not dropping a single thing. You know, those waiters that carried like 20 different plates at the same time. That's what his job was in high school. Just solid from there. Also, I'm shooting from the side right now, just making crap up. I also, a sneaky stat last year was that Hunter Henry was a tight end 1 because I had him and Sam Laporta on my dynasty winning team last year, and Hunter Henry
Humble brag.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it was just, so there is that little connection there, but I think Henderson's a much nicer option than a 39-year-old Hunter Henry. I don't know how old he is, but I think he's in his 30s or he's right at that cusp. I love it. I'm running with Henderson everywhere that I can go. My wide receiver 3 tier is my boy Zay Flowers. I don't know why, but Zay Flowers has my heart. Just in the most unique way. I don't know why. I love watching him play. I love it. His range is 13. He's rated high as 22, low as 35. If you saw a TikTok or YouTube short from Fantasy Now Plus a couple weeks ago about Zay Flowers, it was about me. I was the one that was talking about it. I want to repeat some of those stats about this receiver. Last year, he had a 25.4 target share in the Baltimore Ravens, placing him 19th overall target share in the league. The next highest target share on the Ravens was Rashad Bateman, who had a target share of 15.8%. That's a huge difference. That is almost a 10% difference that he's above anyone else on. They both, along with DeAndre Hopkins and Isaiah Likely, who are both returning to the team this year, all had 9 red zone targets. Mark Andrews all beat them out by 1 with 10 red zone targets. Rashad Bateman last year ended up with 9 receiving touchdowns. 9 receiving touchdowns. His career total was 4 in the first 3 years that he played. Then last year he scored 9. Zay Flowers is a smaller guy, so he's not going to be as big of a red zone threat as the aforementioned wide receivers on his team. But Rashad Bateman wasn't getting all of his stuff in the red zone. He was getting a lot of it from the deep throws that should have been going to Zay Flowers' way. Bateman blew up last year. And I think part of it is because Zay Flowers is such a threat that it opened up Bateman, and Bateman finally showed his first round caliber with it. Last year, Rashad Bateman had a 20% touchdown rate per reception. He had 45 receptions and 9 touchdowns. He had the highest rate for wide receivers with 45 or more receptions. On the other hand, Zay's touchdown per reception rate, let me say that again. Zay's touchdown per reception rate was a mere 5%, placing him tied for 4th worst in the league amongst receivers. There is no way with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback that you are going to continue to be 4th worst in the league as the team's starting wide receiver. Those things have to balance out a little bit. DeAndre Hopkins had 7 touchdowns last year. You don't think about that, but DeAndre Hopkins had 7. How is Zay Flowers only coming out of this offense with 4? Lamar threw 41 touchdowns last year. There's no way that Zay Flowers, that this is just where he's going to be. No way. In 2024, here's something you need to think about. he did have 50 or less yards in his 8 of 16 games that he had a 50% plus snap percentage. However, in 6 of those 8 other games, he had 90 or more yards. So he's a boomer bust receiver. I kind of talked about this with Jameson Williams. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago. And I was not huge on Jameson Williams because of that. I think, though, that Jameson Williams showed what his ceiling is. And I feel like Zay Flowers has more to prove. So I'm running with Zay Flowers. He's wide receiver 30 right now. I'm running with him as a wide receiver, low wide receiver 2 all the time. In best ball drafts, if I can stack him with, Lamar Jackson or the week 17 stack with some Packers. Oh, darn, I have to draft Packers and draft Zay Flowers is the worst. And Chris right here, love Zay. The world loves Zay, except for the defenders that have to play him. And if you don't love him, you're wrong. It's just, that's how Sue sees it from Glee right there. That's how Topher sees it.
I love how every episode, I need you to figure out a way to just plug Wicked every single time at this point.
Oh, well, that was Glee.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. I heard the wrong name.
It's okay. But Glee did have Christian Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, the original stars of Wicked, which I was introducing to you before the show. And they were like, kind of like, let's show up special characters, but they played some big roles in that show. So yes, everything does come back to Wicked. Everything.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna get a little comfortable here because I'm about to get a little weird. For the rest of my picks are gonna be weird here. So at the end of this RB3, I'm going to ask you a question because I don't have an answer for it, and I'm not sure anybody really does, but I'd like to get your opinion. So I'm gonna go with the current RB35, who's got a giant range of 27 to 47. We have him at 28. That's Brian Robinson Jr., who was excused from practice today, most likely getting traded. Now, I've seen things all over the internet where it's like, he's not getting traded. He's just going to get cut. That would be insane if that happens. But let's see where he gets traded to. He finished RB29 last season. His final 3 weeks, 2 of them were just terrible. Week 16, running back 68. Week 18, running back 63. Now, he obviously isn't going to play there this year. So, and Chris makes a good point. They won't cut him on his rookie contract. There is no point. You're absolutely right. But where is his next snaps going to be? He's pretty high up there for not really having a team at the moment. Yes, I know he signs to Washington, but who's really grabbing him right now? If you haven't drafted yet, which I do actually have a couple drafts this weekend. Those leagues draft very, very late. Where is he going to play next? Do you have an opinion on where you think he might end up?
So, my first thought, let's throw out Chris's idea. He loves in New Orleans. That could work out really well. I have a similar situation where you have a stalwart running back and a running back that was recently drafted that is not panning out well as the running back too. And then the team just drafted a rookie running back this year in a later round. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins. I don't love it, but that's where my mind went first because HN is a little bummed up. It's a soft tissue issue that could come back. Tissue issue. So, but it could work. It could be Dallas. I like that. Jamie, Dallas would be nice. We see these running backs go within, or wide receivers, these skill players go within the division all the time. TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Am I just naming NFC North people? Absolutely. But we see that Dallas, same division. We could see that. I mean, nobody's popping off in Dallas. Nobody's running with that. You're on something. You're onto something.
It's interesting. I like that you said Dolphins. One of my best friends is a huge Commanders fan, and the two teams he predicts that he could possibly end up is one was the Dolphins. His other one was the Colts, which I see less of, but also kind of makes sense.
Because I've got Khalil Herbert and DJ Giddens. It seems like they like DJ Giddens, but are they going to trust him fully if Taylor goes down?
Yeah.
Also, is Brian Robinson going to want to go play where he's a backup? Is like he doesn't really get a say.
For sure.
But yeah. And Chris LePage says he'd be good in Tennessee. I think Pollard and Spears already there. That'd kill that. That would kill that fantasy backfield. Just kind of like right now, Washington's fantasy running backfield is killed. Yeah. Okay. Am I good to go on? I just wanted to make
all yours. All yours.
Awesome. Okay. So we have about 9 minutes left. And I'm not going to talk as much on this one. My wide receiver 4 tier is Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall of the San Francisco 49ers, former first-round pick, who got shot last year and then came back and started playing again. If I had a bad burrito, I don't know if I'd come back and play again in the season. He got shot. His range is 15 from wide receiver 32 to 47. I want to read you this tweet that Ari Myrov tweeted. I love that guy. I have his I have alerts for all of his stuff. Brandon Ayuk is an ACL recovery. Sorry, this is the 49ers wide receiver room. Brandon Ayuk ACL recovery out at least until week 6. At least week 6. His ACL's not going to come back. He's not going to come back ready to go by then. I'm going to say week 9 is when we see any semblance of Brandon Ayuk look somewhat like his former self, even the bad former self, let alone the superstar that he has potential to be. Juwan Jennings has a calf issue, again, a soft tissue issue, and is seeking a new deal. So there's some tension, negotiations there. Demarcus Robinson just got suspended for 3 games for violating this substance abuse policy 2 hours ago. Jordan Watkins, high ankle sprain. Jacob Cowing, aggravated hamstring. Available options include Ricky Pearsall, Malik Turner, who has played in the league for 7 years and has not had more than 30 receptions in his entire career. Entire thing. Robbie Chosen Anderson Bartholomew Quick Trip the Third, whatever he's going by now. Okay. That guy hasn't had 30 receptions since 2002. He's played 3 seasons and he hasn't had 30 receptions. And then Isaiah Hodgins, another roster jumper, and Russell Gage had a good season in ATL. Haven't seen much from him since. There is no reason why CMC, George Kittle, and Ricky Pearsall are not going up your draft boards like crazy right now. Obviously, CMC and George Kittle can't go up by much, but Ricky Pearsall is the only option that can really go up. He had a lot of dud weeks last year. Don't get me wrong, but he ended really strongly. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Oh, Jamie Perogue, thank you for reminding me. Sky Moore, the infamous Sky Moore from the Chiefs, somehow was still on their roster. Just got traded to the Niners, so probably 9 receptions, 3 games, and then he's injured or benched.
Yeah. Awesome. So this is where I said we're getting weird from here on out. So next guy, Austin Eckler. Same team as the last guy. He's currently running back 40. His range is 30 to 57. Fantasy now has him at 44. Missed a handful of concussions missed a handful of games with a concussion last year. He was running back 34 to finish the year. Week 10 versus Pittsburgh was by far his best year. The yards weren't, or by far his best game. The yards weren't there. He only had 44, but he had 2 touchdowns. But that was half of his touchdowns for the entire year. Now,
Wow.
when he does play, I mean, he is pretty consistent, but also he's got a rookie creeping up behind him that they seem to really, really like. And how long is Eckler going to be your RB1 to start the season? I don't think it'll be very long. And what's going to take away from him now, he does like to catch. Washington signed Debo. So that's going to take away some of his short-term passing or his short passing attempts that would have normally gone to him. Even though he's listed there, I'm not looking to even touch him really. I don't think he's going to have as big of a role on that team as they thought before the draft started.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm with you. I'm going with my wide receiver 5 tier, Keon Coleman. He was actually in my steady and safe category because his range is so small for being so low. His range is 9, 44 through 53. However, last season he played 13 games. 3 of those 13 games he had above 55 yards. That's it. He had 29 total receptions on the season as the essentially number 2 receiving option, and a rookie that was picked right at the top of the second draft. I loved him. He had 6 of 13 games with 1 or less receptions. 1 or less receptions. He scored 4 touchdowns. He had 556 yards, 4 touchdowns. His yards per catch was 19.17. Absolutely insane. But some games, like I'm looking right here, 1 target, 1 reception, 24 yards and a touchdown. 2 targets, 1 reception, 21 yards. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 26 yards. He had 1 game above 70 yards last year. He's right now being ranked as wide receiver 50 off of what? Preseason hype? A young guy being like, oh, he needs another chance. I mean, he had the MVP as his quarterback. What more does he need? He only had 1 game where he had 5 receptions or more. The rest of them, no. He was ranked wide receiver 68 last year. Wide receiver 68 right now is his teammate, newly added, Joshua Palmer. That's where his current ranking is right now. I don't know if Joshua Palmer's better than Keon Coleman as a talent, but as a fantasy asset, maybe. I loved Keon Coleman. He was such a dud. I don't know how he comes back.
Yeah, I was high on him also. He sat on my taxi squad most of the year, waiting to get that drive up to the team, but yeah, I just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yep.
Now, my last one, you can probably take a guess where I'm going with this one with my last 2.
Ew.
That's Krosky Merritt, which I learned this week. He prefers Bill. So Bill is currently listed at RB53. His range is absolutely ridiculous, which I understand with the whole situation going on there. It's going to be crazy, but his range is 36 to 70. We have him at that 70 mark. I like the whole buy low, get a high upside on this one right now. Who knows if Eckler can even stay healthy? He could take over that spot from him pretty quick. Now, weird thing is, he only got to play 1 game for Arizona last year due to some eligibility issues. But that was a 13 carry, 160 yard, 8.2 average, 1 touchdown game.
And that was Arizona as in the college, right?
Yeah, sorry, Arizona's
Okay.
in the college. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, so he went over there, could not play, played 1 game, but the prior year for New Mexico, almost 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns. He obviously has the skill set there. Now, is it all hype? Is it actually going to be a solid running back? I don't believe that it's all hype. I think he's going to look pretty decent this year. I'm going to get him. If I can get him in that 60-ish range, I'm going to go for it. Even though we have him at 70, I'm going to go a lot higher than that 70 range. He did get to play this last preseason game. He had 11 carries, 46 yards. He had that one touchdown that he just kind of just took off, and I think maybe got touched once. If he got touched, I'm not sure. But I am kind of excited to see him. Now, I don't have any stake in him this year yet, but he was in consideration for me, at least, to be able to pick him up. I did pass on it, but I kind of regret it at this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I think Jamie Perogue says Mr. Bill Clinton Krosky Merritt is getting too much hype. I just sold him today for mid-second in 2026. I think that could pan out well. It could also bite you in the butt. That's a high-powered offense with two running backs ahead of him that more than likely are not going to be on the team next year. And Chris Rodriguez looked good, but he's not made a splash against Robinson or Eckler. But Bill Clinton Krosky Merritt is seizing that opportunity so much that they're looking to trade Brian Robinson Jr. Hey, I want to thank you so much for watching the show, for listening to the show, whatever way you are ingesting and investing in the show. We appreciate it. You can also Venmo us. You can send us cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory.
I love coffee.
Okay. Michael's a coffee guy. I'm a cheesecake guy. We are open to bribery. But thank you so much for listening, watching. Again, I'm at Topher K44 on Twitter, on Blue Sky. Michael is MP Flores 90 on both of those as well, correct?
Correct.
Beautiful. Follow us. Make sure you check out Fantasy Now Plus, the website, all that fun stuff. I'm excited to be a part of this team. And also, last thing before we go, Michael, you and I are wearing green and yellow today. So I'm glad that you are in solidarity supporting the Green Bay Packers. We love to see it.
You must not have watched this last week preseason. The Bears are going all the way. It's done. It's already in the script.
Yes, because a team that does well in the preseason always wins the Super Bowl, right?
100% of the time.
Yeah. Tell me how that has gone for the Baltimore Ravens for the past few years. Good, but not there yet. Okay. You all have a wonderful week, and we hope to see you next week. Deuces.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.